long thought dormant beneath one of Europe's most crowded cities, is showing signs that echo the planet-altering eruption of 39,000 years ago. The ground is rising. Earthquakes jolt neighborhoods daily. Gas levels are spiking, and experts now warn that the pattern matches history's worst volcanic catastrophe. But this time, it could unfold much faster. 3 million lives sit atop a force powerful enough to plunge Europe into darkness. Could we be witnessing the start of another extinction-level disaster? The truth begins here. Across Europe, a thin layer of pale volcanic ash lies buried in riverbanks, lake beds, and deep ocean mud. This is the fingerprint of the Campanian ignimbrite eruption, evidence that the blast from Campi Flegrei traveled farther than any other eruption in the region's history. Scientists have traced this ash to more than 20 sites, stretching from southern Italy to Ukraine, even as far north as the North Sea. In each location, the same distinct chemical signature ties the debris back to a single moment, nearly 39,000 years ago, when the sky darkened and the earth shook. Cores pulled from Greenland's ice reveal an abrupt drop in temperature, a chilling that lasted for years. Tree rings from ancient forests show stunted growth, while pollen records mark a sudden collapse of plant life across the continent. The ash didn't just settle quietly. It blocked sunlight, cooled the air, and triggered a chain reaction in the climate. In some places, the layer is several centimeters thick, a silent witness to an eruption that carried its reach thousands of kilometers from Naples. These markers, hidden in mud, ice, and stone, offer a map of devastation. The fallout was so widespread that it became a reference point for archaeologists and climate scientists alike, a line in the Earth's history that signals a turning point. With every new core sample, the scale of the disaster grows clearer. Campi Flegrei's ash blanketed a continent, and the chill that followed left its mark on every living thing. Across the continent, ancient DNA tells a story of survival on the edge. Genetic studies reveal a sharp contraction in Neanderthal populations after the Campanian ignimbrite eruption, with effective numbers in Europe dropping to perhaps as few as 1,000 individuals. Mitochondrial lineages that once spanned from France to Russia vanish from the record, replaced by genetic signatures from small, isolated groups clinging on in scattered refuges. For early Homo sapiens, the picture is less clear-cut, but the signals of stress ripple through the archaeological layers. At sites like Riparo Tagliente in northern Italy and Kostenki on the Russian plain, the sequence of stone tools breaks, a gap in the record where life and culture faltered. Mousterian implements disappear, replaced much later by new forms, hinting at a pause in occupation or a desperate migration to safer ground. The ash layer becomes a dividing line in caves and open-air sites alike. Above it, traces of daily life thin out or vanish altogether. The few who remained would have faced a world transformed: bitter cold, failing vegetation, herds on the move, and a sky that stayed dim for years. Some Neanderthal lineages never recovered. For modern humans, the genetic record shows a bottleneck, regional, not global, but enough to leave its mark on the diversity of descendants. The eruption did not erase humanity, but it forced a reckoning. Every tool, every fossil, every fragment of DNA is a reminder of how close the edge became, and how vulnerable even the most adaptable species can be when the Earth itself turns hostile. Since 2005, the ground beneath Pozzuoli has surged upward by 1.4 meters, a vertical shift that would be impossible to miss on any city street. GPS stations anchored in ancient stone and modern rooftops record steady, relentless movement, sometimes as much as a centimeter each month. These numbers, dry on the page, translate into cracked sidewalks, warped door frames, and a landscape that no longer sits still. In the past year alone, the caldera has experienced months with more than 450 recorded earthquakes. The official log for June 2025 lists 457 separate tremors, each one a jolt or a rumble felt by families trying to sleep, shopkeepers stacking shelves, children in crowded classrooms. Most quakes are small, but some are not. On a hot afternoon in June, the strongest earthquake in the region's monitoring history struck, magnitude 4.6, rattling windows across Naples and sending thousands into the streets. For scientists, the acceleration is undeniable. The frequency and strength of these events now outpace anything recorded since the 1982-84 crisis, when Bredicism forced entire neighborhoods to evacuate. The ground's upward push and the swarm of quakes are not random. They point to mounting pressure deep below, a restless force pressing upward, testing the strength of the rock above. With every new data point, each millimeter of uplift, every spike in the quake tally, the sense of instability grows. These are not abstract warnings. They are hard numbers, logged in real time, and they leave little doubt. Something powerful is building beneath the city, and the margin for error is shrinking. Beneath the restless ground of Campi Flegrei, the real story unfolds out of sight. Scientists track the invisible forces at work through a web of sensors, chemical surveys, and cutting-edge imaging. The most telling signals come not from the surface, but from deep within, a reservoir of gas and superheated water trapped beneath a fragile cape rock, just 2 to 4 kilometers down. This pressurized pocket acts like a loaded spring, driving the ground upward and sending tremors rippling through the city above. The gas escaping from fumaroles at Solfatara and Pozzuoli tells its own story. Carbon dioxide emissions have surged to more than 1,500 tons per day, levels not recorded in centuries. Isotopic analysis reveals a blend of magmatic and sedimentary sources, with up to 70% of the carbon dioxide coming directly from deep within the Earth. Spikes in sulfur dioxide and helium ratios hint at fresh injections of heat and gas, feeding the pressure below. These chemical fingerprints don't just measure the unrest. They help map the pathways that connect the deep reservoir to the surface, revealing where the system is most likely to break. Seismic imaging has pushed the limits of what can be seen underground. AI-driven tomography has mapped a tangled network of ring-shaped faults encircling the caldera, some previously hidden from view. These faults act as potential escape routes for gas and fluid, their geometry shaping both the risk and the style of any future eruption. Earthquake swarms cluster along these structures, tracing the lines of weakness in the brittle caprock. Then there are the very long period, or VLP, tremors, slow, rhythmic pulses that last tens of seconds, unlike the sharp jolts of ordinary quakes. Detected only in the last few years, these signals are thought to come from gas sloshing in crack-like cavities, resonating as pressure builds and finds new exits. The fact that VLP frequencies remain steady suggests the overlying rock still holds, but the system is under strain. Every new data set adds complexity, showing a restless engine far more intricate than surface tremors alone could explain. The deeper the scientists look, the more they realize how many moving parts are at play, and how quickly the balance could tip. Inside the INGV monitoring labs, the mood has shifted from routine vigilance to a quiet, grinding anxiety. Teams gather around real-time feeds and flickering seismic traces, parsing each new tremor for signs that the system is tipping from slow unrest to something far less predictable. The data is clear. Uplift rates, quake frequencies, and gas surges are all intensifying. But what those numbers mean, and how to respond, has fractured the expert community. Some scientists insist that the current signals fit the classic pattern of Bredicism, the slow breathing of a restless caldera. They point to the steady resonance of very long-period tremors and the self-healing caprock, arguing that the system is still cycling through pressure and release, just as it did during the 1982-84 crisis. For them, the risk of a catastrophic eruption remains low, so long as the caprock holds and the gas finds a way out. Their models show decades of possible warning, time enough to adapt and prepare in phases. Others see a more urgent threat. They highlight the pace of uplift, over a meter since 2005, and the clustering of strong earthquakes at shallow depths, warning that these patterns echo the run-up to the ancient Campanian ignimbrite blast, only faster and more sustained. In confidential briefings, senior INGV volcanologists have described the situation as closer than ever before to a critical threshold. Arguments erupt in staff meetings, with some pushing for immediate upgrades to the monitoring network and faster public warnings, while others urge caution, wary of triggering mass panic or economic collapse. The debate is sharpened by a bitter fight over resources. Budget records reveal that even as the crisis deepens, the Ministry of Finance has threatened to cut INGV's funding for seismic and gas monitoring. Internal memos warn that losing even a handful of stations could blind scientists to the first signs of a true emergency. Protezione Civile, Italy's civil protection agency, is caught in the middle, pressed by scientists to act on incomplete evidence, pressured by politicians and business groups to avoid unnecessary alarm. The memory of the 1982–84 evacuation still haunts every decision. For those who lived through it, the prospect of another mass exodus, without enough data, without enough warning, is almost unthinkable. Yet the uncertainty grows with every tremor, every budget delay, every unresolved argument in the lab. In the heart of Pozzuoli, families wake each morning to the sound of new fissures splitting the plaster and tile. Diaries kept by residents describe nights spent listening for the next tremor, parents counting the seconds between rumbles, children sleeping in their clothes in case they have to run. Since late 2023, more than 120 buildings have been red-tagged for collapse risk. Entire apartment blocks in Rione Toiano and Agnano now stand empty, their windows taped and doors chained shut by order of civil protection. Some of these buildings are schools and clinics, places once considered safe. Bagnoli, too, has seen 40 more structures condemned, many within sight of the old factories that once defined the neighborhood. For thousands, home is now a cot in a gymnasium or a borrowed room with relatives outside the danger zone. The official tally puts recent displacement at nearly 4,800 people, with over 2,000 still unable to return. Insurance claims pile up alongside unanswered emails to the municipality. In video messages, residents show the cracks that snake along bedroom walls and the bags they keep packed by the door. Some speak of a growing sense that the authorities are not telling the whole truth, that every new inspection brings more uncertainty instead of reassurance. The air itself has become a hazard. During the gas surges of May and June 2025, emergency rooms in Pozzuoli and Bagnoli recorded a 48% increase in respiratory admissions. Children and the elderly, especially those living within a kilometer of the Solfatara fumaroles, suffered the most. Cases of asthma, bronchitis, and volcano-related pneumonia filled the wards. Hospital records show 342 admissions in just a few weeks, nearly double the seasonal average. For many, the risk is not just the ground moving beneath their feet, but the invisible threat in the air they breathe. Evacuation plans exist on paper, but the reality is daunting. The main roads out of Pozzuoli can, in theory, carry 120,000 people per hour. Trains add space for another 18,000, and ferries at the port can move 6,000 more. But these numbers depend on perfect conditions. No blocked streets, no panic, no aftershocks. In drills, planners warn that real-world chaos could cut these capacities by a third or more. For now, families watch the news, check their phones for alerts, and wonder if the next tremor will mean leaving behind everything they know. Mount Vesuvius is often held up as the ultimate symbol of volcanic threat, a mountain that buried Pompeii under meters of ash and pumice in a single day. But when measured against Campi Flegrei's true potential, Vesuvius becomes a minor actor on a much larger stage. The eruption that destroyed Pompeii in 79 AD released about 3 cubic kilometers of material. In contrast, The Campanian ignimbrite blast from Campi Flegrei ejected over 200 cubic kilometers, nearly 70 times as much. That difference is not just a matter of local devastation, it is a leap in scale that turns regional disaster into continental crisis. Ash cloud modeling shows that the Campanian ignimbrite's plume climbed more than 40 kilometers into the stratosphere, high enough to circle the globe. Fallout maps reveal a swath of Europe blanketed from the Mediterranean to the North Sea. By comparison, Vesuvius's ash reached only as far as southern Italy and parts of the Balkans. The climate impact was just as lopsided. After the Campi Flegrei super-eruption, ice core records from Greenland and Siberia register a sudden temperature drop, an anomaly of -2 degrees Celsius that persisted for years. Crops failed, ecosystems faltered, and winter stretched far beyond its usual bounds. No eruption in recorded European history, not even Vesuvius, has come close to matching that planetary reach. For the millions living above and around Campi Flegrei, these numbers are not abstract. They define the upper limit of what the Earth can unleash. The worst-case scenario is not another Pompeii, but an event that could redraw the map of southern Italy and send ripples through the global climate. Inside the headquarters of Protezione Civile, the atmosphere is tense and businesslike. Officials sit shoulder to shoulder around crowded tables, reviewing the latest seismic bulletins and lists of condemned buildings. Each new tremor brings another round of urgent meetings, but the real test comes in the form of action: what gets done and when. The city's emergency planners have been tasked with a mandate that leaves no room for delay: strengthen the monitoring network, update evacuation logistics, and show the public that someone is accountable for every step. The technical teams are working overtime to maintain and expand the sensor grid. While the government has not released a detailed breakdown, internal memos confirm that millions of euros are being funneled into new GPS stations and remote gas detectors. The goal is clear: catch every pulse, every spike, every warning sign as it happens. Yet when pressed for a concrete figure, officials sidestep specifics. The much-discussed €4 million sensor upgrade remains a line item in draft budgets, not a signed contract. Instead, INGV and Protezione Civile point to ongoing improvements. More sensors, yes, but no published deadline, no public guarantee. Transparency is another promise under scrutiny. Civil protection spokespeople have been urged to provide regular risk updates, but the idea of a live public dashboard, one that refreshes every 90 days with real-time data, remains just that, an idea. For now, bulletins are posted as events dictate, not on a fixed schedule. Calls for a binding timeline are met with careful language about vigilance and readiness, not with dates or dashboards. Evacuation drills, too, are caught between urgency and inertia. Updated route maps are circulating among planners, and signage is being quietly replaced in high-risk zones. But no citywide drill has been scheduled, and no official has committed on camera to a date. The gap between what is needed and what is delivered is measured in weeks, not hours. For residents, the silence is deafening. For officials, every day without a clear action plan is another day the city sits exposed. The pressure is mounting, not just beneath the ground, but inside every office where responsibility and risk now go hand in hand. In 2024, Campi Flegrei's ground has surged upward by 1.4 meters, with over 450 earthquakes recorded in a single month and gas emissions reaching levels not seen in centuries. Scientists have confirmed these signals match the early stages of the catastrophic eruption that buried Europe under ash 39,000 years ago. Yet, no one can say with certainty what will happen next. The official monitoring documents show a divided scientific community and emergency planners racing to update response plans for millions who live above the caldera. Despite advanced imaging and decades of research, the precise triggers of a super-eruption remain unknown. What is clear? Campi Flegrei's past devastation shaped the fate of early humans, and its present unrest forces Naples and the world to prepare for hazards on a scale far beyond Mount Vesuvius. For now, vigilance and transparent action remain the only defenses against a force that has already changed history once.